good, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the established 1982 podcast, the Geek Culture Podcast, hosted by responsibly irresponsible adults that have loved video games, comic books, movies, and TV since 1982. And I'm your boy Wale Analog, and I'm joined, of course, by my homie. He is a shinobi, the cerebral ninja. Yeah, that is Satori Hanzo. And of course, our resident elitist, Mr. 1%. Benevolent Suge Knight Rolls Royce Elise.
I gotta cut the beard, man.
Yes, sir. No, that's that quarantine beard. It's getting real Suge Knighty.
Right, okay.
Rick Ross.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And we have the pleasure of having with us a special guest. She has joined us before. If you are familiar with the Watchmen podcast that we did, she joined us on the Watchmen podcast, an aficionado of all things geek culture, and a newly anointed binge watcher extraordinaire as a result of this quarantine. Yes. Miss Christy Pruitt-Haynes is in the building.
Hello.
Yes, and she is here because today we are here to talk about something that we all have recently binged. Well, I guess we're a little late to the table talking about it, but unfortunately, well, from our point of view, I don't think a lot of people or enough people are talking about this show, and that would be Devs on Hulu. But before we get into that, we would like to acknowledge those who have supported us out on patreon.com/EST1982 podcast. That is patreon.com/EST1982 podcast. Hat in hand once again. You too can support the podcast, help us keep the content coming for as little as $1, just $1. That's all we ask. But if you would like to pledge more, you can do so on patreon.com/EST1982 podcast. And those that have done such include one being my lovely wife, and it's Carrie Ledbetter. She has been a supporter since the very beginning, so thank you so much. We have Terrence, don't call me Richie Rich, has been a supporter. Thank you so much. We've got representing that Philly, Jamal Weidman, and he has been very supportive from the very beginning. Probably one of our first ones. We've got who we got? We got Brandon King, Enigmatic 52, Raphael M. Jordan. Thank you so much for your support. We've got Militant Billy, sir, aka Maze TV. We've got the Professor also representing. Thank you so much for your support. We got Johnny Prototype out there on the West Coast, Cali, representing. Thank you so much. Tori Moore in the ATL for your support. Jim Stumbaugh, thank you, sir, for your support. And we got a new one, Mr. Mike Wallace. Now I didn't realize he had an alias under which he pledged his support, and I didn't know who it was. Didn't realize that was my coworker until just recently. So I'll have to holler at him at our next video conference online at work. Thank you so much for your support. And is there anybody I've missed? I want to make.
Tawisha Rogers Simpson.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your support. Patreon.com/EST1982 podcast if you're curious on where to go support. So now let us get into what I feel like was probably one of the best shows that I've seen in a while. And I know that might sound like hyperbole, especially after having said the same about Watchmen. but there are two different categories of show, so it's very hard to compare. If you had asked me which one I liked more, I would lean towards Watchmen just because of the whole the issues that they tackled and the relevance that it holds, and even more so, ironically, these days.
Prophetic.
Yeah, we all wearing masks,
right?
But Devs, man, best show this year. You know, I started watching the show when it was 3 episodes in, and I didn't realize that I thought it was just released all at once. So once I got past that 3rd episode, I was disgusted. Right. I was like, oh no, I gotta wait till next week. So everybody here has watched the show, and before we get into a synopsis of it, we'll just go around and get everybody's thoughts on, because I feel like I've given mine already. So everybody can go around and give their thoughts on the show. And we would like to start, ladies first, as it were. We shall maintain our history of chivalry here and allow Miss Christy Pruitt-Haynes to give her thoughts initially as it related to the show Devs.
Thank you. So, and I'll be the first, binging has become my new hobby over these last few months. So I watched this one in like a day and a half, but I feel like I would have done that regardless because it pulls you in. And it really has been one of those shows I absolutely love, one of the high points of 2020. And Lord knows we need some high points this year. So I appreciate it. I think, it's one of those shows that it makes you think. And as soon as I felt like I had everything all figured out in the beginning, there were a couple of things that happened. I was like, oh, I didn't see that one coming. Didn't expect them to be together as a couple. And I didn't think, she was gonna. So it was the fact that it wasn't predictable that I absolutely loved. And it really made you think. It made you think a lot about the concept of free will versus destiny. And if we do have free will, and this is something that I've thought about just in my own life, if we really do have free will, does that truly change what's destined to happen, or does it just change the way it happens? So, I thought it was beautifully written. It definitely held your attention. And, they got a lot in 8 episodes. I got to give them credit. They did a whole lot in 8 episodes.
Indeed. Cerebral Ninja, well, like your take, because the creator, as it were, of this show is someone that you think highly of, and you suggested a few other projects of his to me, after which, having seen theirs, I ran to watch and was thoroughly pleased with those. So please give your thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, Alex Garland is on my must-watch list now. As far as anything he does, sight unseen, I'm going to be there for it. I really love the show. I love everything that he's done. I mean, this is one of these shows where this creator really sets that atmosphere, that tone, with the music, with the performances, with some of the shots that he chooses. Like, it gives everything just this kind of, I don't know, eerie feeling to it. Sometimes feelings of like hopelessness, in that question of, is there free will or is everything predetermined? And the concepts they play with in this really get me thinking a lot. It's like, it's like throwing out chum to fish with me. I mean, it's like I eat up some of the things that they explore in this story. I really, really get into, and I'll talk about that later, because I honestly, I subscribe to some of the theories in the show. I'm pretty much, like low key, like, yeah, that's probably almost certainly how things work. And so anything that gets me thinking like that, I really enjoy. But besides all that, like, the story itself is still fantastic. So it's like, it's a great story, great performances, but then also the stuff that it makes you think about is just excellent. So I love it all the way around. 10 out of 10.
Mr. 1%.
You guys have all, pretty much said it all. The one thing that I was really impressed by was Nick Offerman's performance, and then Allison Peel's performance. She was the drummer in Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Mm-hmm. She was the drummer there. Her performance was great, and we'll get into that. Everybody on the show, their performances were great. The one thing about Alex Garland that I like is he's clearly influenced by like Ridley Scott. He's pulling like music and all this stuff together, and you can see the influences, but he makes it his own style. And you see that in Ex Machina. That's a movie he did. You see that in Annihilation with Natalie Portman, which I suggest everybody watch. I mean, that film came out at a time, and it just kind of gone and went in the theaters. But I mean, it was like an all-female cast, just really good sci-fi. And he really takes a lot of challenges in the stories that he creates, and I love that about him. And Devs is definitely one of those series. I mean, he could easily play like a movie, and I would be all in. So, yeah.
me being a developer by trade, one of the things I appreciated was the atmosphere within, I guess, a company, a development company, or even not necessarily a development company, but development shops within, a company. And by nature, developers tend to be secretive about their stuff, and there's this culture of arrogance that's there. But it was heightened even more so by those devs that were, those devs employee, the part of that division, those in the devs division. And what I particularly liked was the conscious effort to to make the devs diverse, the nature of it. The main ones you saw all the time, right? But when those few scenes when they went out and showed who all was a part of the team, it was an array of different people. And just to keep it real with you, you don't see that ain't how it looks.
That's not real life.
That's not how that. And I've been in the game long enough, and very few do anybody look like me in the dev shop. Not to say that there aren't.
Age-wise as well.
I'm sorry. That's correct.
Age-wise as well.
That's correct, because you'll run into a situation where advanced age developers, depending on the company culture, they'll find a new college student to do what you do, and move on from it. Now, I've seen that happen too.
Right.
And I appreciated Stewart a whole lot, but we can talk about that later. But Stewart was my guy. I appreciated him. So there were things that that flew under the radar that resonated, along with the stuff that was obvious. But that in particular, I found very interesting and entertaining, and I appreciated that. And I didn't want to talk about the show without having said that first. Number two, we also have had the pleasure of sitting through another series that was 8 episodes that, in my opinion, was a grave disappointment in Westworld, season 3.
Oh, wow.
So now, before we get into that, how many here? Like, I know Mr. 1% and myself have seen Westworld. You get an award, Mr. 1%, for having binged all 3 seasons in record time.
No. I only binged the 3rd season.
Okay. So you did the Cliff's Notes on.
No, he kept up.
No. I kept up.
Okay. So you weren't behind. Okay, so you just got caught up. Okay.
No, that's impossible to binge all 3.
Okay, I was gonna say you the man. Okay, but you've seen
Westworld season 2 is like, you have to eat that like steak. You got to cut off little pieces.
You have to focus.
Focus.
It's a dry steak too. It's a dry steak too, bro.
Right.
It's a dry.
Well done, leathery with no.
It tastes like it feels like you're eating a belt.
Right.
For real. But
isn't that how we like steak? Like folks.
No.
not this one. Not this one.
Anymore.
Look at me. I try to break the stereotype as much as possible. Let me get that medium up out you. I got to have that medium. Now, I don't want you to knock the horns off and put it on the plate. Now, let's not do that. But I need that medium.
I need it on the grill a little bit longer. I need it a little blackened. You know what I'm saying?
Nope. Medium rare.
Medium, baby.
Okay.
Medium rare.
Anyway, we digress.
Sorry, that's nonsense.
No matter what they put on the plate, in form of that Westworld, I felt that the same themes were approached, and and they went a different way with it. But I feel like
before you dive in, has everybody seen it?
Nah.
You've seen
it? Yes. Well,
okay.
I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil it.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, right. The only point I was going to make is that I feel like devs accomplished, to a degree, what Westworld was trying to do. Westworld had the challenge of trying to tie season 3 back into 1 and 2, and that's where I feel like they failed. Whereas Devs had the luxury of this being their first season, and they could just do, and they wrote it in such a way where you could feasibly believe that they'll do a Watchmen and quit, or you can see where there's room to expand on it based on the multiple reality, path they went.
Right.
And so I wanted to start there, right, with the notion of the multiple universes.
Well, before you dive in, we also got to let everybody know that's watching.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Yeah.
Well, if you come on, okay. Well, it's on the label.
But, can I make a plea to anyone still listening at this point? Tune out.
Yes.
Take our word for it. We are all vouching. Everyone on here is vouching. It's an excellent series. It's well worth your time. It's available on Hulu. Please watch it. Don't listen to this and ruin the experience, because it's a very thought-provoking and enjoyable series. Go watch it.
That is absolutely
if you haven't seen it yet,
turn it off.
Go check it out and then come back to us and listen to our discussion. But don't ruin it for yourself by listening to the podcast. All right, now continue.
Yes, and that being said, I want to start with you too, Ninja, because you again hit me up on Mr. Garland, and you and Mr. 1% told me, man, y'all, you need to watch Ex Machina, and I kind of waited, and after having watched 3 episodes of Devs and being forced to wait another week, I ran and watched Annihilation and Ex Machina like back to back, and I don't watch movies like that. But the show was so good, I was like, I need to see everything this dude is doing. So you mentioned there are some things that okay, let's do it like we normally do. Because you do it so well in articulating, what the whole thing is about, the whole theme and the underlying premises and everything. Share with the audience. You tell everybody what the underlying premise is from start to finish. Protagonist,
for Devs here.
For Devs, yeah.
So we have a likely billionaire tech genius experienced a very great loss in his life. And through the use of this quantum computing, he has broken everything down to a series of inputs and outputs. Basically, there is nothing that is random. There's no such thing as a random event. He has determined that given enough computing power and given enough information, you can determine what is going to happen with any given thing or any given person or anything anywhere throughout time by running this predictive algorithm that will show you what has happened in the past and what can also show you what will happen in the future. And his ultimate goal or his desire is to bring his daughter back by as I interpret her, as I see it, have his daughter back by basically if you have this predictive algorithm and it's the exact same information or input that made her up, not another version of her, but her down to the very tiniest element that she would, and you can look at it and you can see her and interact even within this simulation, that essentially she would be alive again. And so his ultimate goal was to bring his daughter back. Now, I don't know if it was his plan to end up being in there with her or not. I don't know if that was part of the goal. That is left to be discussed, I guess. But anyway, so that's the ultimate goal there. And so with this program that he has, he and his group are able to look and see events that are happening, and they bring a new member on board. That new member is involved in espionage, and he is killed. And his girlfriend discovers, obviously the plot cover up his murder, and things kind of spin off from there. So I might have jumped around a little bit, but
no, that's fine. That's good. That's good because I'm glad you mentioned those two, the girlfriend and Sergey, the spy.
Man, can I compliment you, Hattori, man? Like, if somebody asked me to give a synopsis of this show, I would be like, I got nothing, because it's
a lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
That's why he
a lot
is
of themes getting explored, and you did it eloquently, man. So
yes,
yeah,
that is his role here as the cerebral ninja.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for that. Now, I'm glad he mentioned the first two that we get introduced to, that being the spy, Sergey, Russian guy, who's in a relationship with Lily, right?
Lily?
Yeah.
Yes. And so, again, pretty diverse. There you have an Asian woman, and who ends up being the main protagonist, a very unlikely, and I watched an interview with Alex Garland, and he mentioned that was done by design. Now, if you see her outside of that show, she's very feminine and very, she's very pleasing to look at, and they deliberately made her look as plain and unassuming, because normally her hair is long, and she chopped her hair, and they wanted to make her look like someone who was not someone you would think that would be the main character. And I appreciate the I guess the different point of view, the different approach that they took. That being said, because I'm not an expert, that's why we brought the women to the show. What were your impressions of Lily, and were there anything, if anything that you would change about that character, or was she just like perfect? In my mind, it was perfect, but of course, but I did appreciate the diverse switch on that and making her the focal point.
So I think, another juxtaposition of her character, and I'm glad you brought up the point, the diversity, and with her being of Asian descent. Stereotypically in movies, when you see women of Asian descent, they are typically portrayed as very meek and very mild and humble, even more so than women from other backgrounds. So the fact that throughout these episodes, you see her strength, and people even comment on it. Everyone says, one of the things I love about her, she's so strong, she's so determined. That's not something that you typically see first in female characters, but particularly I think in female characters of Asian descent. So I really appreciated that, and appreciated that element of the story. And the other thing is, she is, the way you first meet her, you meet her as his person, as opposed to someone who is capable of standing on her own. Right. And by the end of the series, you see she has her own personality, her own thoughts, her own feelings. And even as she goes through and kind of distances herself from Sergey a bit, and realizes maybe I didn't know as much about him as I should have, and grows closer to Janie and kind of goes through all those changes, she still maintains her strength. You can see she's capable of standing as a character without being connected to someone else. So I really appreciated that just in the writing. And I think, she remained who she was from beginning to end. And seeing her, she kind of took it all in. And at one point I thought she really was sort of resigned to the idea that this whole life is pointless. I don't have the ability to choose anything. Why even bother? Why am I here? So I appreciated the fact that, her kind of gotcha moment was, I still choose. I can still make a choice, and my choice can still throw some stuff off that y'all didn't see coming. So I agree. I think she was the perfect character. She was smart. She was strategic. That whole thing about pretending she was schizophrenic and getting her friend to go in with it. Yeah. Like, I'm sitting there, because in the beginning, even I thought, oh, wait, was she really crazy?
Something wrong
we
with
didn't
her.
know it. Yeah, it's like, how is this going to affect this whole story? And I'm like, oh, no. She thought this up, and all of this was a part of the plan. So, she was brilliant. She was brilliant, and I absolutely loved her character.
Great character.
Highly
Yes.
intelligent too. Like, I love the scene where her coworkers were throwing numbers at her. I don't know what exercise.
First episode.
Yes.
Yeah. They were throwing numbers at her, and she was like firing them back. And they were like, "How are you doing this?" Like, and I don't know exactly. Can y'all explain to me what they were doing?
I don't think they went into detail as to what that was. They just needed you to understand that she was on some genius level stuff.
Right.
The nerd in me is going to rewatch that scene to try and figure out what the number relationship is, because I don't know if they were like cubing.
Right.
I don't know, but I'm determined to figure it out just because I really want to know.
Fibonacci sequence and all that stuff, and I don't know if it was related to that or
probably, who knows.
Yeah,
she worked in like encryption or something like that. Like, so she was like, I guess, a superstar in that realm, and her friends knew it, and so they would just run these exercises with her and stuff like that. I'm glad you brought up the schizophrenic episode, the full schizophrenic episode, because my man Kenton wasn't going. and that's just my segue into who might possibly be my favorite character. Because my colleagues here on the podcast know that I like the bad folks.
Well, you must love him then, because
man, that dude. But he was like, he was horrible with a purpose, and that's all I ask. If he made you hate that dude. He made you hate him. And Kenton was about that work. And every time he showed up, but he had a look of somebody that if you step to him, you could take him. But he was deceptively deadly.
Right. Yes.
And and that's why they brought him on. That's what's crazy. It's like they knew that they might have to off some folk, and it kind of gave you I guess a peek into what types of people Forrest and Katie, right? Forrest and Katie were like, they at all costs this must be protected. Because at the very beginning, the senator or whoever that was, they were prying and trying to discover, what's going on. And, they're out here in this remote forest, and Rose and I were talking about it. We still don't understand what the little halo lights around the trees signify. I don't know. We'll have to.
There's a lot of Christian imagery that I want to talk about too.
Right. Because they would have shots where someone would stand under one of those things, and it would simulate a halo over their head, signifying that they were, deity of some kind. You know what I mean? It was just, but you didn't realize it until like later on. But
it was over Forrest, and it was over Katie. I need to watch it again because it was purposeful. It was all.
I think Lily too at the end. Didn't Lily?
When she was walking to the
on the way to last episode or second to last one, on the way to the dev's compound,
because
it was purposeful, like you said.
We'll talk about that too.
Yeah. So every character, there's always that one that you could do without in a show. Every last one of these characters were absolutely necessary, and were enjoyable. Every one of them, and their development, and as was stated earlier, Christy stated how they managed to get that level of character development along with something that heavy of a storyline and premise into 8 episodes. Some folks can't do it in 26, and it's terrible, and it's a bunch of filler, but they got right to the business,
right?
And they didn't play around, and so. I appreciated it. The free will thing. So, Ninja, you mentioned there were some things in there that you subscribed to. So elaborate as to what those are in the context of the show, and because a lot of times I think there needs to be things that people can relate to and actually have an interest in, and that have a sense of reality in order to weave in with the fiction to make it even that more real, even to those who may feel like it's kind of hokey. But everything there was believable.
Exactly. Both of these are pretty far-fetched, but I honestly, I've come to be a believer in both of them. And one of them is the fact that I don't think that we have any real thought. Our thoughts are actually just outputs based on the stimulus that we receive, based upon the chemical makeup of your brain, your lived life experiences, etc. You put a certain input in, and your brain will manufacture the same output every time. Years ago, and I've talked to both of you, Rolls and Wally, about this, but years ago, I heard this podcast on This American Life, and very briefly, they covered this phenomenon where this woman had a stroke and lost the ability to manufacture memories for about 24 hours. And she's in the ER. The doctor there says he's seen this several times throughout his career, where her memory would reset every few minutes, every 30 minutes or something like that. And they had the exact same conversation in the exact same order with the same dialogue like 20 times in a row. And the doctor was explaining that it was a perfect example of like a person being stuck in a loop, that she would come to, when her memory would reset, she'd be in a hospital, her daughter would be there, this nurse would be there, she'd be hearing these sounds of the machines running and yada, yada. And she would have the same questions at the same time. They would answer, her response to the answer would be the same every time. And it's like her brain didn't have any choice but to respond in the way that it would if it received the same inputs. It wasn't her thinking this stuff up. It was, this happens, therefore I will think this and say this. It's like a real life example of that. And he says he's seen it many times, and that you think, you would just react on the fly based on something happened. But no, like what you did is what you were always going to do. And it was only what you could do based on, again, your lived experiences, your brain, your chemistry, yada, yada. And so that's a very unpleasant thought for a lot of people. But I mean, I think that's how it works. I genuinely do. And what was so interesting about this is like, there's no way to quote unquote make a choice unless you know what the choice that you would make is, and then you consciously choose to do something else. Other than that, everybody else is on rails. You're reacting to the stimulus the way that you would react, and you couldn't do anything different. That's what you were always going to do, and that's how it's going to work. So that's one that I subscribe to. And like I said, I know it's a very challenging and unpleasant thought, but I think that's how it works. And so this just seeing this play out in this, I'm like, yeah, that's about right. And it was really interesting to see that concept played with in this story. There's another one too that's even crazier, but that's the first one. So anyway.
Keep going.
Well, the second one, I think I've talked to you guys about this before, but it doesn't change anything. Doesn't matter. There's nothing you can do about it. And there's impossible to verify. You'll never know. I'm probably 99.9% sure that we do, in fact, live in a simulation. And it's because you have to ask yourself the following question. If your answer is a yes to the first question, then you have to be in simulation. And the question is, do you think at any point in time, any civilization, human or otherwise, will be able to create simulations that are indistinguishable from reality? So if we don't annihilate ourselves, if we don't die from a pandemic, if deity of choice does not return and end the world, if you think 5,000 years from now, 10,000, 100,000, a million years from now, we will have the capability, that kind of computing power, to create a simulation, yes or no? If the answer is yes, no matter how far into the future, think about that. You think they're going to create one simulation and go, oh, wow, that was neat, and then never do another one? No, they're going to create billions of trillions, right? You would simulate everything. Oh, well, let's see what happened to people if we evolved from birds instead of, whatever. You would just run simulations. Oh, I just want to see what 2020 looked like. I want to do, you would run simulations all day long. So it stands to reason. Are you in the one reality that existed, or are you in the billions of simulated realities that, again, may exist at any point, because you could simulate any period in time, right? Once you created this thing, you can go back and simulate. So if you think at any point, and they don't have to be human either. It could be, the lizard people, a trillion galaxies away, decided they want to simulate what it would be like if there was this weird planet that was, primates evolved from. Again, it could be any kind of thing. It could be robots saying, what would happen if we were made out of meat? What would that look like? And they ran a simulation, and it's this. So it doesn't have to be human beings. It doesn't have to be future people. It could be any civilization that exists anywhere in our universe, if they can do these simulations. So again, if the answer to the first question is yes, then the sheer numbers tell you that you have to be in a simulation. Changes absolutely nothing about your reality. Doesn't matter. Completely unverifiable. There's nothing you can do with that information. But, the answer to me to the first question is, yeah, sure. I mean, look at what we've done with computers and how it exponentially keeps, just leapfrogging year after year after year. It's getting more and more incredible. Given a long enough time, yeah, we'll get there. It might be, I don't know how long, but we'll eventually get there. And so if we ever do get there, then,
So in essence, you're saying that, when we get a Steve Jobs or a Bill Gates, like they're going down the train tracks, like that are already set before them. Like Steve Jobs creates the Apple IIe computer, then this, then the iPhone, the iPod, then the iPhone, then this, then that, then he passes away. So you're saying that was already predetermined.
Yeah, and I'm not even implying predetermined as in pre-written by, which that people subscribe to that too. It's fine. I'm not even saying, it's more of a, like their pen example. If you roll a pen, knowing the air pressure in the room, the amount of force that you use, the smoothness of the surface, the weight of the pen, it's the same deal. Like knowing that you have this brain and these kind of brain cells, and these things happen to you as a youth, and you learned this stuff in school, and you had these experiences with all that soup of stuff. When this thing happens, you will respond by doing Y. It's not you choosing to do it. It's just, that's how it happens. It's the same way as if I know exactly how the pen is rolled and everything there is to know about that pen, where it's going to stop. It's the same thing, but with your brain and experiences you've had and all other kind of stuff. So
you may be right. For my own peace of mind, I have to think there's going to be a steward who steps in and makes the elevator crash and keeps it from happening. And I just think his downfall was Katie wasn't on there too. He needed to take Katie out as well because she's way too committed to Forrest.
I don't have warm and fuzzy feeling about what happens after the thing is over.
Me neither. When Katie and Senator Lane or whatever her name, once they talk, I don't know what happens next. So I think Stewart just didn't go far enough, but I have to believe somebody's going to hit a button and make the elevator crash with the right people in it. So we can go on in what is this reality.
One thing that I found genius about the show, and Hattori, I appreciate your take on the simulation stuff. One thing that I loved about it was it challenged, if you have any belief in God, Allah, a higher power, whatever, like it challenged that. It says, we're going to present exhibit A, the determinism, the there's lack of free will, you're on these train tracks, and then we're going to let you sit with the stimuli you have grown up with, the going to church, reading the Bible, and they played with those tropes in the show, and it caused a tension I never felt before. And I think that's what makes sci-fi so good, because it's science fiction. It's based in science. So like you're approaching it from a scientific approach, but then there's a fiction part where you're like, but no, this can't be possible.
Mhm.
Like, how did this dude
Right.
make a cube
Yeah.
floating in the
Yeah.
air? And like, where did he even start there? Like, how did he even like jump to that? How are they able to go back to the beginning of time and watch the earth get formed, which was chilling to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And using Stewart as a way, he was almost like the prophetic, like wise man, just going,
Yeah.
"Uh
Elder
oh,
statesman,
like
voice of
we have
wisdom.
cracked open Pandora's box. If you go further than this, we're probably looking at the face of God at this point." And they didn't go there. And it's like, well, why didn't you go there? You went that far. Like, you don't want to see the person that set the track in motion.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
that tension is just it's really powerful. And I don't though I watch a show, I mean, I'm still strong in my belief. I do feel like there are some things. I do feel like there are stimuli that affect our decision making.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're actually going through this kind of trauma now. Like, I've had to not to bring what's happening in our world right now to this, but like, I think twice before I go for a jog. I think twice before, a lot of things, like things that are normal. I'm thinking twice about it. Like, I don't know if I want to go for a jog because there is a possibility that I might get harassed or somebody will call the police on me. And some of that is fear. It's fear stimuli, but it's based on our environment. So I do understand the concept of stimuli kind of hurting you into the train track, but I
Mhm.
still believe in the free will to choose not to be not to cave to fear, or not to go, well, no, I know I'm feeling like this, but I'm going to exert energy and belief into something. So I'm not arguing with you, but I'm just expressing like the tension that I felt in the show,
Mhm.
because
Mm-hmm.
they were trying to make the argument that it doesn't matter what you think, you know. Um, and then the whole I know I'm all over the place, but the whole like box within a box, the endless loop. There was even a loop when Lily did the action. It's like, well, if I believe in Adam and Eve, taking the apple, and like Lily throws a gun, and then it's almost like she set off another. It's like now they're in a new world, and that new world is going down a new path. Like, so there's so many different themes that are being explored in that. So
Whenever I try to combine the notion of free will with the determinism aspect, the same imagery comes into my mind. It's like I envision this, like a person standing at a source of what becomes like this tributary of like different paths and choices that you make to go this way or that way. Of course, at the end of it, there's a result, but there's a number of different ones, right? There's a number of different results. So while it's deterministic, you still, like Rose was saying, you still have a choice, and based on that choice, well, your reality may be that. Where if you make another choice, then you come to another level in which you're presented with another choice, in which you're presented with another choice, and then as you make those decisions, the reality over here becomes more less and less a reality than the one that it seems that you're going to. I feel like I'm all over the place, and I can't articulate it as well, or paint the picture of what I'm saying, but it just seems as if there's this constant fork in the roads that we're walking. And so, yes, we get to choose based on the stimulus. You'll get to a fork in the road and you'll see something a little far, further down the left side that you probably won't want to deal with. It may or may not prevent you from getting where you're going, but because you see that, you're like, let me go this way. And so now those actions are set in motion. Those instances and occurrences and events are set in motion. So the show, it does make your head hurt, but it is absolutely, it is thought provoking and it makes you wonder. I'm in the same camp with Rose. I still have my firm belief, as a Christian, quite honestly, that he has given us free will. But I always feel as if those decisions that we're faced with have consequences, negative or positive. And I feel as if, as a Christian, Christ tries to steer you towards those things that will allow you to live a life that he wants you to live or to experience. Whereas if we just make decisions based on, whatever else, that reality becomes less and less of a thing. So it does bring into question Christianity, for those who are more scientifically inclined and prefer to have things that are logically proven, scientifically proven. And so I think that's what makes the show so good, because both a Christian and an atheist can sit there and watch the thing and still be like, okay, I can, for the sake of the show, I can go with that. I can roll with that.
And to I guess to highlight what Hattori was saying, I do agree with him that it's undeniable. There is a science to it where it's like, say I'm walking down the street and a person comes, I guess, into my space, and just say for some reason they don't smell the right way. Like as human beings, we react to different things and different stimuli based on, sight, smell, color. Like those are the rules. And I might make a judgment just purely off of how somebody smells, and it could be the wrong judgment. You know what I'm saying? Or, hey, skin color. Or, hey, it's like, you discriminate against skin color. Like that's a problem too. So like, what's intriguing about the show is it asks the question like, if you had the ability to lift the curtain, per se. That's basically what they were doing. They're basically going, we're looking at life in general, and we're just gonna pull the curtain up and see who's the puppet master pulling the strings. And what I find intriguing is some of the imagery they use, like, well, why did they go to Christ's crucifixion? I mean, it's interesting that we're talking about Christianity. It's almost like they want us to have this discussion.
They do. They absolutely did. I believe they did.
Right. So it's funny. It's like it asks the question why, but it says, okay, if you find out the answer, how far are you gonna go? Like, how far are you gonna go with that answer? And like, I guess highlighting what I was saying about Nick Offerman and Allison Peel's performances as actors, it was almost as if they had already cracked open Pandora's box and saw the power of God, higher power, or what is making this reality work. And the way they acted was so spot on. It was like devoid of emotion. It was like, I already know the answer, and I know, not only do I know the one answer, I know all variations of the same answer, and there's nothing you can say to me. That's where the arrogance came in.
Absolutely.
And if you believe in Christ, you don't sit there and think, well, oh, I'm arrogant, like I know what's going to happen, whatever, like you don't see him as arrogant, but as human beings, they still had this kind of like disconnected outlook on everything, and the way they acted, the way they, even when they were, that scene was so important. It seemed small, but when you found out that they were, I guess, having relations, even in the way that they were talking to each other, it was still like, wow, they can't even enjoy that.
It doesn't even matter.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Do I love you?
I like you.
I like
I kind of
you.
like you a lot,
Really
but not
like
as much as you like me.
Yeah. It's like no future.
Like, I wouldn't want to have that conversation with somebody.
It really is like they lost their humanity basically by giving that
basically
godlike power.
Yes.
I mean, they were on some Dr. Manhattan type of stuff, where it's just like you're just you're resigned to, when you have that much information about reality and how everything works, then you're just you're like a passive observer in your own life and in life around you. It's like you're not even involved.
It becomes
anymore.
pointless.
Yeah.
And I think, so for me, I think that by them truly, and I believe they sincerely believe they knew exactly how this was going to go. They had watched it 50 million times. They knew what was going to happen. And in knowing that, I think, like you all said, it did take the emotion out of it. But what was interesting to me, and something I don't know that they really talked about, and even the scene where Katie was on the bridge with what was it, the 19-year-old developer's name?
Lyndon.
Yes,
Lyndon, right?
Lyndon.
Yes, Lyndon.
Yes.
So what I kept thinking was, is she doing this because Katie planted the suggestion, or would she really have done this anyway? Was she truly going to go and stand on? And I think, for me, because I'm one of those, and call it confidence, call it arrogance, call it whatever, I would have not done it just because she told me I was going to. So it really makes me think in what they're claiming that this, the box, the cube, whatever, has revealed to them, is that really their way of making it happen by sort of planting these suggestions and seeds and saying, oh no, I've already seen it. I've seen this a billion times. You're going to stand on the outside and I'm not going to tell you what's going to happen, but trust me, you're going to do it and it's going to play out the way it's going to play out. So it really, it made me think a lot about cause and effect. And, did they cause these things to happen by suggesting they were going to? And the other thing, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, quick thing, the interesting thing about that was, at first I thought she was being, there is an interpretation that she is being calculating and saying, I'm going to say the right thing to him to affect the outcome. But what was chilling about this is what is so dope about, and I don't know if this is Alex Garland's doing, but when they showed the multiple versions of her walking away, there was one where it was like, cold-blooded killer, like, yeah, I told him that. But then there was a version of her that was like she looked remorseful. And then there was another version that was slightly different. Then another version, like the facial expressions on each one of those was it. That's what made me get that chill in my back. Like, what am I watching right now?
And if I can go even deeper, that one that at the very beginning of the show, of that episode, I believe is that episode, they showed him sitting down at the bottom of that thing alive.
Oh, that's right.
So that, I mean, you could say it could have been her remorseful.
About that.
It could have been her remorseful moment. Like, man, he didn't jump. I'm sad. You know what I mean? Like, so that a ton, just like 99% of the outcomes were death. But there was that one they showed chilling at the bottom of the dam or whatever that was.
And Christy, I interrupted you. I'm sorry. I just had to say that.
Oh, no, it's fine. I think the other thing I was going to say, and it was something we were talking about earlier, Forrest at the very end seemed, when he said to Katie, basically, don't worry, it's going to be okay. As he was getting onto the elevator looking thing, getting into the box, knowing what was about to happen. And she said, how can you say that? Basically, how can you think it was okay? And I can't remember who, but one of you said, wondering if you knew he was going to end up in the simulation. I absolutely think he did, because to him, that's what okay meant. Okay meant I am back living my life with my daughter.
Right.
Because that's my ultimate goal. And the only way I can truly do that is for her to shoot me me die and just hope I end up in the right version of this simulated world and kind of cross my fingers and hope I go to the right place. So I think he really was okay with that, because for him, that was fulfilling the prophecy. That was the goal. He needed this machine to fully work so he could get back to his daughter. Because I don't feel like he would have ever have been content just watching her. He wanted to interact with her and see her grow up and grow old and all of that. So,
and his acting performance was great, because there were two moments where he showed anger. Like the first one when he was talking to Sergey, and they were talking about the simulation, and he was I guess Sergey had the simulation and they could only go 30 seconds into the future.
Yeah.
And he was like, I forgot what question was posed, but he got angry. He was like, but this is unacceptable. Like, and I don't know if he was doing that just to throw Sergey off and get the other people out of the room so he can invite Sergey in. And then the second one was when I think he was having an argument with was it Lyndon?
Yes. Yes. When he fired her.
Yeah, and he was questioning, like, are you sure this is the right Jesus? And I was like, wow.
Yeah, he didn't like the many worlds.
He said there's multiple Jesuses. Right. Yeah. This could be from another world. And I was like, man, what? Like, and he just seemed what I was meaning to say by that. He's so focused on getting back to his daughter. It didn't, like, Jesus was out of the equation. Like, y'all are talking about Jesus here. Like, he's like, but there's multiple Jesus. And it's like, what? Like,
you don't, was his hair right? You don't know.
Yeah, was his hair right? One hair on his head could be different, and you don't know.
Not the right one.
That's what was crazy about the whole show. The fact that they confirmed the identity of Jesus, but then throw all that out of the door.
Yeah. But that was irrelevant.
That's what makes it so crazy.
It is funny too, because there were some things that the show was obviously not interested in exploring. For example, if you can look back and see and hear in perfect fidelity Jesus on the cross, yet they had no interest in watching 3 Days Forward.
Right.
Check that out. Check that box, verify. Just go ahead and
yeah.
They had no interest.
Just
they had
happened.
no interest.
Right.
Right. So that's kind of funny.
Like, who's not watching the resurrection part? Like, I want to see that.
Also acknowledging the language that they were hearing through the static. They were like, it's Aramaic. It's the voice of God. And it's like, okay, so you deciphered that. You acknowledge that God is behind it, but we're still going to open up the box further. And it was just like, I'm just sitting there at the edge of my seat, like when they showed the form, like I was going like, oh my goodness, like all they have to do is just pan the camera left. And like, what is standing there? It's like.
Well, and another thing I found interesting, which might be really my only criticism of the show, is that they made the characters sort of obtuse for a reason, just because they wanted the big reveal at the end of Lily making a true conscious choice. But they had the character say, okay, why don't we just look? They even had the conversation. Why don't we look forward 30 seconds? And if you're standing up, just sit down. Do you remember they had that conversation? But then they didn't try it. And I don't understand. They were unwilling to even do the most basic harmless experiment of, let's see if we can do something different than what is predetermined. Because the answer would have been yes, and they would have stopped doing all the stuff they were doing, like murdering and all the other stuff.
Right.
Instead of thinking they're locked in, everything's on rails, they could find out, in fact, things are not on rails, that, we do have free will. As long as we know what we're pre-programmed to do, we can consciously choose to do something else,
Right.
Did you think it was crazy when Kenton like bust in on Lily and Jamie? And like, I don't know if it was that episode or like another episode earlier where she wrote "F you" to the Russian handler, spy handler, and she turned it to the window, to signal to this guy, like, I guess, observing.
I'm not rolling with that. I'm not going to
Right.
do it.
But when Kenton came in and killed Jamie, she had the forethought to like turn it around and say, no, F you. And then like, try to challenge Kenton. I thought that was the dopest thing. Like, like it also posed a question, like, she's aware of the simulation. Because like, why would she do that? Like, why would she flip her life is in danger. Why would she flip the page over? You know what I'm saying? Like, and point it at Kenton, and Kenton's
Well,
like,
I assumed it was from where she opened the window
and turned it,
and she had the window
all the way around,
the
and
way,
it swung
so
around.
It didn't swing.
Exactly.
It's like she flipped it the other side.
It wasn't on a hinge that went all the way around?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. So I thought that's what it was, and she flipped it around. But maybe not.
Yeah, that would make more sense than her taking time.
Even if it was, that took a whole lot to do.
I think it's being on the hinge.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
But the fact that they filmed it that way, where it was like it was pointing out, and then now it's pointing in. When was a point where she said, something, I'm gonna point this FU letter inside the house so nobody can see it from the outside? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that stuck with me. And again,
that's not on her mind when her life.
And again, I'm weird. Like, I pay attention to details, like little small details like that, and obsess over them. And there might not be a point to obsess about it. So,
yeah, I'd have to look again. I think it was from the window, just swinging. Swinging in.
Yeah, that's what I think it was. I just wrote on a piece of paper, and I'm sitting here flipping it as if you would have like flipped the window. I think it was from the window flipping.
Yeah, turning.
Because that would have turned it around facing back, because she wanted him to think she went out the window.
So it wasn't a sliding. It wasn't a sliding window. It was a.
No.
Yeah, it was a
360. I've never seen a window go 360.
But that was the only reason. That was the only thing I could use to justify making any kind of.
180. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
So
who knows?
Yeah,
it worked for me.
I wonder if there's going to ever be like a commentary track where they talk about all this stuff. Like, I would love to watch this over again and hear Alex Garland go, no, we wanted this intentional. We were very intentional about this shot or this interaction or this piece of dialogue. Yeah. So.
Do you all think that, and I know clearly Stewart figured out what they were actually doing and why, but for the rest of the day, that's what I couldn't figure out, is if they truly knew what they were working on and what the goal was, or if they still thought this is more about history. And I was curious to know how aware they were of what they were building.
I don't know that you couldn't be somewhat aware after having sat through the little exhibition of the 1 second look ahead.
Yeah.
But that's just 1 second. But I know me, I would be like, I wonder how far they can push that out. And what are they trying to, now to the degree of, entered into a system with a different reality, but they were all there when Lyndon revealed the whole multi-reality theory. So they were all there, and I don't know, I just probably would have gone home to my wife like, and he's going down up in that place, man. Like, what are they doing in there,
Right.
And they fire you and then give you a $10 million severance. If you say anything,
your life. Don't
and we'll know if you do anything because you see the machine, so you know that we'll know. Yeah.
Right. Like, I guess they feel like 10 million is enough, to keep somebody quiet.
What do you do? What in the world do you do after that? Like, poor Lyndon. Had Lyndon survived, like, what was he gonna work on after that?
That's why he said, I can't do anything else. He would rather have foregone 10 million.
Right.
And that's what was so brilliant about Katie. Katie used that, his insatiable desire to be right about that multiple reality thing, that she was able to make him willingly step out on that ledge. This will prove that you're right. Blah, 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 blah. And so it was easy to do. It was easy.
And that's a pretty that's another popular like thought experiment. It's called quantum suicide. And that's basically where, you can it says that you can jump off a bridge or, put a pistol in your mouth or whatever, and like somewhere in the infinite number of universes, the pistol misfires or you land and you survive. But because you would be killed in all the others, you would only consciously be aware of the one in which you survive. So it's like a thought experiment that basically says you can do whatever and you're going to survive. That you would survive because you're only aware of the one in which you survive. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of interesting heady stuff, like a lot of thought experiments out there that are forget that. But so I think that's what we were seeing play out that Lyndon thought that's what Lyndon had going on in his head is you're right. I'm gonna be fine in one of these, but they showed
right because I proved the theory.
Yeah.
It was playing on his arrogance as a genius genius do, you know what I'm saying?
Clearly.
But that played right into it, and it was easy to lure him off the edge, man. It was easy, and she knew that.
Does anybody know the
emotion for the other stuff to happen?
Does anybody know the principles they were throwing? Like they said, the Lyndon principle, and then there were two principles that they kept arguing over.
Yeah,
I Googled them.
Yeah, you got to Google them. And
Yeah,
they're still in my head.
Yeah, I read it. It was a lot of big science words.
Like,
that's not my. That's not me.
Right, made my head hurt also.
Yeah, but they're real. They were things.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So what about Jamie? So he's who I felt sorry for.
Absolutely.
Poor Jamie, the water carrier Jamie.
Yes, like I felt so bad for him. He done sliced the lemon with one good hand, and
he got murdered.
Yeah.
After getting his finger broken, after she dumped him, like that poor little sick puppy just, abuse after abuse. I felt bad for him. I loved him as a character. I thought he was a little stupid for sticking around, but whatever. But yeah, he is the one that I felt was the true victim in all of this.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes.
And were they trying, again, here's me with the details and trying to read too much into it. Were they trying to say, due to his, I guess, no pun intended, colliding with Lily, that set his path off? Because it's like, okay, she broke up with him. Now he's like 2 years in and he's still holding on to their sheets, and like they made that joke, like he was still hanging on to her. And then Sergey dies, and then she comes back to Jamie, and Jamie's like, well, wait a minute, no, but yes. And then he ends up getting his finger broken and killed. And it's like, were they trying to make a point there to say like, okay, well,
it's happened for a reason, make the right choice?
I think they were. I think, to me, Lily for Jamie was just like Forrest's daughter was to him. She was his big loss. She was the one who got away. She was the one he was still pining over, and the person he was never going to get out of his system.
And Forrest made that point on the porch.
Exactly.
That point to him.
Mm-hmm. So I think Jamie was always destined, to the extent that this is, predetermined. He was destined to be a part of this story. That's why he was still connected to her, and that's why he was still so obsessed with her.
But what was chilling though, Forrest said, "Oh, you're going to be okay," and what you found out the answer was, "Yeah, you're going to be okay in Forrest's simulation."
That's correct. That's
it. Like this reality, you're toast, dude. Like, but you made a point. You made a point to tell him, "Well, you'll be okay. It'll all work out in the end." Because at the end, I mean, that's how they ended the show.
Yeah.
They hugged, and it was like, wow.
He didn't even know why. He was like, "Man, what's going on?"
Yeah. Right. But to him, that's what success means.
Right.
And that was a loop too, because when she approached him the first time, he was like, "No, F you." Like, no, you're not going to come to me now after you broke up with me. But like at the end of the show, it was like they were doing the box within the box thing, which was driving me. It was making my brain explode because they kept doing the loop thing. I need to. I need to have a backstory on Stewart, like
Stupid.
because he stood there,
My
like he
God, man.
stood there the whole time, like guarding it, making sure that, like he wasn't thrown off when Lily said, "You know something, forget about it, free will, throw the gun," and he was like, "Well, see ya."
I still
You
got to
know,
do
like-
what I got to do. Right.
Right. So
Right.
that was, I would have thought if she threw the gun, maybe he would react differently, but he didn't, which
And
is chilling in itself.
Do you
So
think
it's like,
he had looked forward and seen
Yes.
everything?
Well,
I think he had.
Well, they were saying that they couldn't pass a certain
But I'm
point.
saying, do you think he had watched that day just like Forrest and
Oh, yeah.
oh
Okay.
yeah, several
Oh,
times.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he had. I don't think the other developers had, but I
Mhm.
think he had.
We don't even
The
know
And
what
that
happened
because
to
that's how
dude,
he
do we?
knew to say to her when she was going in something to the effect of, you don't need to go in there. This is not going to go well for you.
Right.
He said that as she was entering
Mhm.
the like development pod or whatever.
Yeah.
And of course she went in anyway. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think he
Oh,
knew.
by the way, that reminds me, something, Christy, that you said earlier about how, is them seeing these future events somehow influencing their behavior. And I think they even had a line of dialogue addressing that, how they'd watch the day over and over again. And when it came time for them to say stuff, she said, I don't even feel like I'm reciting a line. It's just
That is
what
true. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking, so it's
hmm
okay, yes,
It's
the
already in you.
stimulus is
It's
here.
there.
I'm
Yeah.
talking to you, and it's Tuesday, and it's this time, and yada yada, and you said this, so I'm just gonna say this because that's what my brain. That's the output that you get.
Like it's almost like an
Anything
inability to
different,
say
right?
anything
Yeah.
else.
So I thought that was interesting.
So was Lily special, or was she the only one
Brave. I
brave
think it was a
enough
bravery.
to
I think
go
she made a
against it?
choice. She made a conscious choice to say no. That's why, again, I think if I had to pick a weak point of this, I do think it was. I found it quite silly, to be honest, that no one just tried the simple experiment of look 30 seconds ahead. If I'm sitting in the projection, now I'm gonna stand. I'm
hmm
gonna leave the room if I'm in the room. I'm gonna, like, something simple, not like changing just some very slight change.
Mhm.
That no
Mhm.
one tested that is bizarre. Again, it's just because they need to save
Baffling.
that for the end, basically. So, yeah, that's about the
Mhm.
only shortcoming I can come up with for like the entire series, as far as I'm concerned.
Right. Right.
So I think the one other character who may have had a moment of choice, and I don't, if they gave him a name, I don't remember who it was, but the guy who appeared to be the homeless guy
Pete.
living outside their
Pete.
What was his
apartment.
name?
Pete, yes.
Pete.
So I loved him like from
Yeah.
the very beginning. But when he came in and said, I was supposed to watch and protect Sergey. I was just supposed to watch you, but I made the choice to protect you as well. And kind of went through, now here are the choices. But I think it was interesting that he specifically said he made the choice to do that. That was not part of his job.
And the choice was based on him watching how strong she was. He
Yes.
made a point to say it's something, basically saying there's something about you that I mean, he spoke on her resilience and how tough she was and how strong-willed she was, and he made up his mind. He was like, I'm just gonna alter the mission here.
Yeah.
And so she has this ability to influence change, just not out of acts that she performs, but it influences other people to do the same, like within a certain radius of her being. It was very strange, and they had been alluding to that throughout the show. Like she was playing that game or whatever as a child with her dad, and he made the point of saying, "Why did you do that?" It's almost like you're like 3 or 4. How I can remember how many steps he said that she was
Yeah,
ahead,
3 steps ahead.
but she is just on another level, and they were kind of just foreshadowing this thing, like this girl is not, your typical. She's outside of the realm of this system that they're creating. And so it came to fruition at the end. I'm very interested to see. Like, I wouldn't be disappointed if they said there was a season 2, like I would have been if they said that about Watchmen. Like, Watchmen needed to end the way it ended, but I would be all in on Devs 2. like all in, because I want to know if they would approach it from this new reality or just another one. Doesn't even necessarily have to be the one that we were shown at the end of season 1. It could be one of the many others. And it would be cool if they kind of started the first episode, like first episode of this one started, but then things started happening that differed from season 1, and then we go down a completely different path for another season. That would be amazing to me.
Interesting.
That would be amazing if they did that.
A choose your own adventure kind of book.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Bandersnatch joint on Netflix. They do it like that. And yep, that'd be all in. They could do like 10, 12, 13 seasons of that, you know.
Yeah, I know we're wrapping up, but I gotta ask the question, like, I talked about my faith and whatever, and when you read the Bible states when sin entered the world, and then the world is completely changed. Now we got, we have racism, we got, greed, we got, all kinds of stuff.
Degenerate state of the world.
God pretty much created heaven he created earth, and it was heaven. And then he created Adam and Eve, and he instructed them not to eat from the tree. And, I would always talk to my mom, and I think that's why this show intrigued me, because I would always talk to my mom and dad and go, well, okay, if God is a creator of life, and he's all knowing and knows what happened, why didn't he stop Adam and Eve from eating from the tree? And we wouldn't be in this mess that we're in now. And then I think the answer is like, well, then we wouldn't have free will. And then it's like,
it always comes back to that. It's this.
And then what's crazy is it's like, well, like, and then I always have this thought. It's like, well, if I ever get to stand before God, I want to ask that question. Like, okay, God, you knew when it was going to turn, and like, why didn't you
intervene
in the wind or like,
I built a brand new house
Manhattan
with a shiny red blinking self-destruct button in the middle
of it. Right.
And I'm just gonna hope they don't press it.
So, right.
What's that?
Yeah.
Right.
So what I honestly think, and I've always wrestled with this notion too, from going back to childhood, I think there is a difference in knowing and having the ability to know. So I think God absolutely has the ability to know how all of this is going to play out. I think he chooses not to. And for me, that's the only way the concept of free will exists.
That's
because
right.
if he does know, then all we are puppets. And we are truly just here for his amusement, to watch what he has already determined play out. And it's pointless. And I can't, and maybe it's just for my own kind of to keep me from going crazy.
Right.
I can't think this is pointless.
Right.
So I do think because again, if he knows everything, then there would be no reason for us to ever pray, because the answer has already been determined. So why even bother? Right. So I for me, I think he has the ability, he chooses not to. Yeah, and I could be wrong. I could be way off. Again, that could just be, this is how Christy gets from day 1 to day 2. But that's what makes sense to me.
And that's what's intriguing about the show. Like I appreciate the looking at both sides of it and exploring that. Like I think that's fruitful. It's just, there's things that there's things that have happened in my life where I can't put a scientific I can't put a scientific label on it. Like it like it happened, and I can't say it doesn't feel predetermined.
Right.
It feels like out of the blue, like there's no way I would have gotten to this conclusion or this place in life. And I know if you look back at, if you look back at my timeline, you could probably go, well, this is a moment where Ryan's going to be, Ryan's going to do this podcast on devs. And then, 5 years later, now he's doing this. you know,
Mm-hmm.
asking the same questions about devs or something like that. But, you know, like, but I just, I think that's where the wonder about the whole thing, I think that's where it comes into play. That
Mm-hmm.
things just, it doesn't feel like a train track. It feels like, no, there's these things that are introduced, or people that I meet in life, or, you know, like I guess, like, for example, I've met you, Christy, I've met Hattori, and I've met Wally, and the way we've met, I would have never expected that, you know, that I would meet y'all in those different ways. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Again, this
A
is
very thought-provoking show, to
right.
say
Yeah.
It is.
the very least. Tram lines and such. And this
Right.
is me attempting to steer those of you listening and watching to the tram lines that would guide you to patreon.com.
Great segue.
1982 podcast to pledge your support. And perhaps it may have already been predetermined that you will put some in the coffers of the podcast.
There's a $25 level that
There is that, but I don't want to scare.
I'm going to introduce that stimuli. Sorry.
You don't want anybody to jump off the cliff.
Right. But you were going to do it anyway, see? Thank you for your support. I appreciate it.
Yes, patreon.com/EST1982 podcast. If you are so inclined to jump on the train to that website. Also, the website EST1982 podcast is where you can view and listen to. Also, our podcast is available on any medium which you listen to your podcast. Get your podcast. It can be Spotify, it can be Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, whatever. You can go out there. Christy Pruitt-Haynes, thank you again so much for your insight and your thought-provoking opinions and things like that. It's always a good time when we talk about shows that we've binged, and you seem to be very good at that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everything except for Westworld. I could not binge season 3 of Westworld.
Don't worry about it.
That hurt my heart.
Don't worry about it.
Hey, Chrissy, do you want to plug your latest endeavor?
Do that.
Of course I do.
Yeah.
So everyone, please check out my website, ourtruths.com, OURTRUTHS.com. It is an organization primarily for Black women. It is to inspire, to educate, and to provide a platform. So we have a speakers bureau. We have a publishing house. It's to get more Black women out on things like this, on all types of stages where people wouldn't typically expect us to be. So we have a lot of things coming. Full website launch will be June 23rd, knock on wood, but we have our coming soon page up. We're on all the social media, so please check that out. It's going to be it's a great thing. Got a lot of good stuff coming there.
Cool. Awesome. There's Our Truth.
Our Truths with an S on the end.
Truths with an S. Multiple truths.
All of them, all the truths, all of universes. We had to account for all the possibilities.
Well said. Again, that is ourtruths.com.
Yes,
and again, it's hit us up and give us your thoughts, whether it be on the Facebook web message board or whatever, the group, and give us your thoughts on the show. If you haven't watched it, as Hattori said, please, if you've gotten through all the way this, man, you might well not even watch it now. We didn't mess it up. But so give us your thoughts and your opinions on this show, because I'm sure that a lot of people have a lot of different views and some stuff that we may have missed. It's been a minute since I watched it. And so just let us know what you think. Until next time, people, we thank you for your support. We'll holler at you.